Speaking of strikers, though, what do you make of the Ekitike and the Isak situation? And I ask Mark because I'm seeing a lot of Newcastle fans slightly misquote the David Ornstein article. I get that Ornstein has said that Newcastle have no intention to sell the player and don't want to sell the player. But Ornstein is maybe the most cleverest guy in the industry with these words. No intention and don't want to isn't the same as they categorically will not. It's set in stone. I'm also seeing a lot of misquotes say that Newcastle want to play them both together. That suggests partnership. What the article actually says, and I'll quote it here for the viewers who haven't read the article, which is crazy if you haven't done so. What they say is the insistence, which is a strange word to use, the insistence is that Newcastle want to boast both amongst their frontline options. That reads, Mark, very differently to they're going to play them both together in a 4-4-2, right? How do you see this playing out? Sorry, go on.
I think there's three options here. This is Newcastle getting the Ekitike deal done first before they sell Isak, which would be clever because you'll get a better deal knowing that you're going to get good money from Newcastle. That's probably the most unlikely, but that could be possible. The second option is that you are going to lose Isak in a year, so you're getting Ekitike in before, and there may well have been a chat with Liverpool about that to say, look, you can have him in a year, but let us get Ekitike to settle him in. And then the third option is that they're going to not sell Isak at any point. They're going to get Ekitike in and just grow their squad like everybody else is. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I don't think you can write off any option at the moment, which is what some Newcastle fans seem to want to do, because Ekitike and Isak don't work in the same team unless Eddie Howe is going to change the way he plays. You've got Elanga and Murphy on the right, you've got Barnes and Gordon on the left, you've got Isak down the middle, and then you've got your midfield. Ekitike plays in Isak's position. Now, rotation, injury, of course, they wanted João Pedro. So that may well be the option, but remember that Ekitike is the most viable alternative to Isak for Liverpool, and they do want a forward. Now, unless Darwin Núñez is going to stay, which seems a little bit of a waste of everybody's time, I still think Liverpool are a factor in this. And I don't think that, look, apparently Ornstein tweet said play alongside Isak. Look, David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano are brilliant transfer journalists. They're not getting the team news from Newcastle in the middle of July. I'm sorry. So anybody who's trying to tell me that David Ornstein says they're playing alongside each other, they're not playing for a month. And they are not, David Ornstein is not getting the team news from Eddie Howe. So I'm sure he's part of the squad and maybe they'll put him on the wing. But I don't think David Ornstein knows that Newcastle are changing to a 4-4-2. He's probably been told by Newcastle that we are bringing him in to be with Isak as an option up front. And that might well be the case.
Well, I posted it in the comments section. This is what the article says. So yes, the tweet says play alongside, and that's fine. But never form an opinion purely off a tweet. Read the article. The article says the obvious follow-up question is what it means for Isak's future. And the insistence is that Newcastle want to boast both amongst their frontline options. So that is what the article says. So I get he then paraphrased it to play alongside each other. But if you read the article and the tweet, the only conclusion that I think you can take from that is that play alongside each other as in be part of the same attacking options, because the article goes into more specifics and broadens the conversation wider. He then also says, and again, Newcastle fans get very angry at me for talking about this, but I think I'm being balanced. There's a good chance he stays. I've always said that. But the next few lines say how Eddie Howe will keep that pair, okay, plus Gordon, Barnes, and Elanga happy is unclear. And the finances involved in retaining them will stretch them from a PSR perspective. So the fact that you're then so this is why I find it amazing that it's being ignored. And you're spot on, Mark. All those three options, sell now, sell in a year, they're going to both play together for many years. all three are plausible when you read what's being said. What is frustrating about the aggregation of this is people are picking and choosing which part of that paragraph to share. And I think that's very disingenuous from all parties. I think you should be talking about all of it. He's also said as well today that this is what's interesting. Ornstein has said that the number 9 is now the priority position for Liverpool. Ekitike was a backup option. He's now going to go. Their number 1 target was Isak. They've got shed loads of money and they're going to sell people. I think they're going to put a bid in. Whether they get him or not, Mark's another question. But I think they're most certainly going to put a bid in for him, in my personal opinion. But look, viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your opinions on that. Mark, this here says, should Maresca get sacked if he doesn't win the Premier League or Champions League after spending so much money and entering his second season 4 points behind Arsenal? Obviously, we saw them win the Club World Cup. What do you think the expectation should be on Chelsea next year, mate?
I think that Chelsea winning the title next year would be an amazing achievement. I don't think that's achievable. It's not impossible, but I think that, you can't be sacking him if he doesn't win the league. And you can't be sacking him if he doesn't win the Champions League. I think they're ahead of schedule in his first year to win the Club World Cup, the Conference League, and get top 4. Is a major achievement. I think the way they played against PSG was incredible. It reminded me a lot of Crystal Palace in their FA Cup run, in the way that they were so efficient in their counters, but defended really well, and did it with about 30% possession. It's not parking the bus football. It's almost an evolution of football. I quite like it. It's not boring to watch Chelsea or Palace play like that. It feels like they have more of the ball because they're such a threat when they have it. So I thought it was a very good performance against a very good PSG side. That should translate to Europe. Obviously, they've played a Club World Cup. They're going to have challenges with the squad. It's their first year in the Champions League for a couple of years as well. The Premier League is going to be very, very competitive with Liverpool and Arsenal. So I think for Chelsea, the most important thing is to consolidate top 4, which I think they will do. I think top 4 is already nailed on with the same teams and what they've spent. I think they might get 3rd, actually. I think they might push Man City out to 4th in what will probably be Pep's last year. And Champions League, I think if they can hit quarterfinals, semi-finals, that would be a good year, and maybe pick up another trophy, I suppose. Yeah.
Breaking news in the last minute, Bayern Munich have submitted an official bid for Luis Diaz of 67.5 million euros. It says it's rejected immediately. These are what I mean by people have got to read between the lines here. The next line is brilliant. Liverpool value Diaz at 100 million euros plus, but have informed suitors they have no plans to sell. Then why would you state the valuation? Why would you say?
Well, I think Luis Diaz wants to go, and it's about managing the exit, isn't it? Like he wants a new contract, which Liverpool won't give him, or he wants to go. So Liverpool know they've got a player that probably wants to go, but he's got 2 years left in his contract. So if you want him, you better pay for him. And to be honest, he's a very good player. I mean, in the modern market, he can't be going for the same price as Cunha or Mbeumo, because he's done it at a higher level in a better side. So I think they're right to pitch it around sort of 75, 80 million quid.
No, I agree completely with what Liverpool are doing there. The other clip I wanted to play, final story of today, is to do with Morgan Gibbs-White. Let's take a listen to what Sky have said here.
Put out a picture on social media today of Morgan Gibbs-White back at Forest training ground, which is absolutely fascinating, because last week we reported that Tottenham had triggered the £60 million release clause in his contract, and then Nottingham Forest, they don't think the move is on. They are considering their legal approach about what could be an illegal approach from Tottenham. That's the understanding. They're consulting their lawyers because...
Apologies while that's freezing. Sorry, let me just see if I can make that work again.
There's a feeling that there's been a breach in confidentiality around this release clause of £60 million, and they believe that this approach has been illegally made. Neither clubs have commented on this, but it's really interesting to see the fact that a player who seems very close to potentially leaving Nottingham Forest has been posted in a club picture today returning to the training ground. It's our understanding,
hardball, aren't they?
Until there's a resolution in the situation, that he will remain a Nottingham Forest player. He will remain training and preparing for the new season.
There's also been said today by the Mail that Nottingham Forest have told Tottenham to not make any further contact with the player. And whilst we've just been talking now, Ben Jacobs has also tweeted about this, and he has said that Morgan Gibbs-White is training again today as he waits clarification. He says Forest prepared to take legal action, alleging that Spurs learnt of Gibbs-White's 60 million clause illegally. Gibbs-White remains keen on the move, but will continue his pre-season as normal. Told he has no desire to leave Forest on bad terms, which I think is really interesting. What's your take on this situation, and how do you see it playing out, Mark?
I think ultimately he probably will end up at Spurs. I quite like the professionalism. It's the same as Brian Mbeumo. You know, you want a pre-season. Why should you go on strike? Who knows how long you'd be on strike for? So I think pre-season training, turning up, shows a level of professionalism. I'm not a big fan of players going on strike. I know it makes you sound great. He's on strike for our club, but you know, there's obviously who has a release clause and then no one knows about it for a start. It sounds very technical, and obviously, you know, Forest have had some success with their legal challenges lately. They're in the Europa League, aren't they, at the moment because of Palace? So maybe Gibbs-White will still be a player there. But if the release clause is there and Spurs have paid it, then I don't see how this doesn't happen anyway. I think it will happen at some point. It doesn't seem any logical reason why that would get stopped. But I guess we'll wait and see. You know, weird, I suppose.
Yeah, it's interesting. It all depends whether they've done anything wrong. So if Spurs have done nothing wrong, they're just going to wait this out. I do think it's good to play, as you say, he's being professional, but that's probably the right way to go about this. Because if he starts, you know, because him and his team may have done something wrong, so it's better that he behaves himself, and he also may end up staying. I think it's the Gyökeres thing. I think Gyökeres knows he's going to go. They know there's going to be a resolution. But let's just say Spurs have done something wrong and Gibbs-White mouths off for a bit and then he has to go and play it for Forest next season. It becomes untenable for him and the crowd give him so much crap, but we'll see. This year says Newcastle United playing a blinder with Ekitike, proper forward planning, a perfect age to play back up for a year, plus both he and Isak can play left wing, perfect Champions League rotation. Fair point. Man City agreed a 10-year deal with Puma worth 100 million a year. Congrats, City. Well done. Bro.
When are we going to get 115?
I'm at a point now where obviously, as a Man United fan, I want them to be guilty, right? But I'm going to always be objective about it. But how we were told March. It's now July. They're just got a £1 million deal.
They're gonna drop it at the most stupid time, I think. I'm gonna drop it like Friday at 6, something like that. You know,
it will be 10 minutes into the Man United Arsenal game at the beginning of the. This is what I heard a conspiracy theory. They're going to be found guilty, but the Premier League are allowing them to get all these new deals and sponsors and financial things in place, spending lots of money, so that they can cope with any fines that come with it for a period. And I'm like, I don't ever believe in those conspiracy theories, but. Look, it is what it is. It is what it is. Every transfer has a risk. Grealish 100 million from Villa to City, warming the bench. Nicolas Pepe 70 million down the drain. Henry GOAT Premier League player. Yeah, absolutely. Every transfer has a risk to it. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Mark.